Vikram Gandhi visited with terminally ill patients who are fighting for their right to die. This is his debrief.
The people that we've met along the way that are fighting for the right to die, fighting for legalized physician-assisted suicide, fighting for euthanasia laws, many of those people want this issue to come to light so other people like them don't have to suffer. And in many ways, it was important to show Antoinette going through the process of euthanasia because she also believed that it was important for people to see it. The other reason too is because, again, death is seen as this very scary thing. And when looked at it with a different perspective and entered into that process through someone's own volition, it changes the way you think about it. And therefore, I think it was really important to show that event. It's a pretty surreal experience to watch somebody end their life. It's a lot like watching somebody fall into a deep sleep and never wake up. In the case of Antoinette, what was so surreal wasn't just the moment of her passing, but it was the moments leading up to it. The whole experience was motivated by her drive to end her life, and she believed that this was the right thing for her. And I think because of that, a situation that's normally considered a negative, which is death, was looked at as a positive by the people in the room. It was peaceful. She went with a smile. She went with people around her that she loved, and she'd planned everything out. And in some ways, that experience wasn't something depressing, but actually something empowering. I think that supply often drives demand. And when the option to end your life is something that becomes normalized, it can become a slippery slope. There are dangers with it. And I think it's about whether or not a society is mature enough to offer that, whether our relationship to our own lives, the economy, all of those things take into account whether or not people are going to take action and end their life when they shouldn't. So I think there's a lot of problems around it still. I don't know if I think that the arbiters of who should be able to end their life should only be psychiatrists. It sort of exposes the fact that we don't really have a structure in our society to deal with issues of death. The only structures that exist are simply religious ones. I do think, though, for people who are terminally ill, it should be legalized. I've yet to come to a conclusion about mental illness. I think the right to die will pass in more states in America, but I think it's probably going to be divided across political lines. States that are as liberal as California and Oregon will probably allow it, and states with more conservative ideas on death will probably not. I think it's going to be a long time before we see the whole United States have this law. I did think the right to die was going to pass in California when we started. I mean, you could see that the lobbying groups, Compassionate Choices, and other outspoken people had really captured the hearts and minds of people in California and all over the country. It had become something that society in California had really been pushing for, and the people who were against it, they just didn't seem to be pushing as hard back. I mean, also, the problem is that the Catholic lobby, while it is strong, is dealing with a population of Catholic people who also were swaying in the direction of the right to die. It's like the scale had tipped fully in the direction of allowing this law to happen, and it was simply a matter of time and the politics around it before it did.